Zoe this shirt too. Thanks.
Fireside! Why is everything in all caps? I got that. I got that. You tell everybody to turn off the internet?
No. Boy, this is a nice house, huh?
Yep.
I mean, nobody was given internet. So that's the other reason. Hey, make sure everybody's off the internet, okay?
Sup, Dirk? Big homie Dirk. Can you hear me okay, Dirk? Dana in the house, Ernie in the house, Raul in the house. What y'all up to? Becky in the house. Let me see. Did I post it on Facebook? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Current events like Vin still being a moron and Sori admitting that she's married to Pantera. Yes.
Is that Ben?
Obviously, it's Ben. Who else would it be?
I think it has to be Ben.
It's got to be Ben.
Who else?
Who else could it be? Who else toes the line of getting permanently banned from our village? This is not working. I probably have to move this way, babe.
Oh, no, it's this.
Oh. Problem solved.
Brilliant. Look,
Brilliant.
You can see his tiny little head poking up a little bit right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Current events like responding to my last comment on the last fireside. What was your last comment? Yeah, it's on. They can hear. I'm using the mouse. I don't know why I'm doing
Only
that.
can use that if you need to, but I need to pull this
Put it
so
over
we can,
here.
see.
What was your last? Why are you?
Oh yeah, that's right. We can go to the.
What was your last comment on the fireside there?
Hi, Becky.
Oh, buddy, oh, pal. Is that Becky in the house?
Yeah.
Did you two miss us? Yeah.
Almost line.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know the Johan.
No.
Obviously.
Almost line.
Leah in the house. Leah, you might be on the brink of disaster with your boy Trump in that Epstein situation. If this isn't a chill fireside, I will literally riot.
I mean, I'm good with a chill fireside. Start asking questions that aren't political. Quickly.
Ben is a closet soy boy, so he uses this format to feel big and strong.
Dan, you're not chopped liver.
What's up, MAGA? I mean, Leah. Vin, what do you think about Kabbalah? It is seen as, is it seen as holy or accurate in your Christian sect? No. it isn't. There is room in my Christian sect, as you call it, for mysticism for sure. And there's actually some Kabbalistic concepts that I love. For example, many times I refer to God as the Ein Sof. They kind of get credit for that. And there are mystical elements in the New Testament that are that could be interpreted as Kabbalistic. So obviously I don't see it as ultimate truth, but I do see it as having elements of truth connected to it for sure. Carmen in the house. What's good, Carmen?
Where did you see her? Oh.
Right there, Carmen of the Village. Who knew the kidney was in the heart? The man with all the best words and the very good brain.
Are you sure that we have this the clearest that we can?
You just go there. Honey, what are you trying? Are you looking at the video quality or the camera?
Camera.
Because you handle the camera, so I don't know. It looks pretty sharp to me.
It's as good as it's going to get. Where do we go here?
Nope.
Sorry. Oh, Vinny, don't be mad at me. We're live.
You just ruined our whole floor. Are you uploading anything?
No, I uploaded earlier.
Okay.
I'll upload.
They all made it?
Can you remind me to upload again after we finish here?
Inshallah. Now I'm missing all the chats. I don't know what people are saying. And it's your fault.
That's what I clicked on, and then you rolled. What was the big deal? I was headed in the right direction.
Not particularly. Dude, Vin, did you see the knockout? Yeah. I did. It was brutal. Kellen Dross. It was almost as brutal as all those Antifa kids attacking that poor Asian chap. What's the topic of the hour tonight? I don't know what the topic is. I agree. It looks nice. Thank you very much, Raul. The topic is open, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to hang out. Somebody asked me about Kabbalah, so I answered that quickly.
What are your favorite flowers? Okay. I don't care as long as they're pretty and they smell nice. I basically like lots of different flowers. There was this one time somebody bought me a bouquet from like an artist shop. So like they made the bouquet look really, really, really pretty and artistic. And I was like, wow, points to him for ordering that bouquet. Come to find out years later, my mom's the one that told him where he should order from. He didn't think of it on his own. Remember I showed you a picture of that one?
Yeah. There's Ian. In case you didn't see my message on Patreon, Sori, I just wanted to say kudos on the new Fireside format. I love it. Great job.
Thank you, Ian. I went on to Patreon and talked to 3 people today, but I had a ton of editing and stuff, so I didn't. We've had vehicle troubles again, so we've been fighting with the people at the Kia dealership.
Another religious question. You seem to be well read on Islam. How much of the Quran do you believe to be true and accurate? As much as Dan Pogmore believes of it. It's an inside joke between me and Dan. A lot of it, obviously, Surah 4:157, I don't agree with, where it says that Jesus was never crucified. Obviously, I don't, which, if you look at the majority interpretation of Surah 4:157, I love Surah Al-Ma'idah that says that the Gospels and that the Injil, the Torah and the Zabur were given from Allah to the prophets. I love that. Obviously, as a Christian, it's very self-serving. There's lots of stories about, there's Surah Al-Miriam, which is just an entire chapter dedicated to Mary, the mother of God. So there's a lot in the Quran. I probably agree. Obviously, I have not memorized the entire Quran, but obviously Surah Al-Tawbah is a problem. Surah chapter 9 is a problem. You know, the Ayah of the Sword. If you don't have a historical context, if you're not familiar with the ahadith and the Sirah literature about the timeline, then Surah Al-Tawbah can be extremely dangerous. I probably agree with the vast majority of what is stated in the Quran. The Quran is really just an Old Testament remix. No disrespect to my Muslim friends, but that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. There are no topics yet. Babe, I need you to do me a favor because I'm reading these things too. So I need you to not angle it this way.
It's just
like more to the middle would be great.
Can I just sit on your lap then?
No, absolutely not. You're a rather large woman.
So. And you're a mean man.
No. Okay. How many judges who seem to have a tender soft spot in their heart for rapists and molesters? Yeah.
Don't you already have the internet up on your computer?
No, I don't have this up.
Yeah, but you could pull it up.
Yeah, I don't understand the rash of maybe it's nothing new, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's really white rapists and molesters. I've got that football player who was falsely accused and they destroyed his entire career. He went to jail. So I'm not seeing judges being light on rape and rapists unless the person's a white male, and then the judge seems to be very lenient. I'm very, very confused by it. There's one preacher guy, I guess, that he raped his daughter continuously, and we'll get off this topic because I don't want to trigger anybody, but the preacher guy got, he was a good person or something, or he was good to the community or something, so they gave him a lighter sentence. Just a whole bunch of, we don't want to give this guy a heavy sentence because it'll ruin his life. It's like, what in the world?
We don't have media passes yet for the Korn concert, right?
Yeah. Well, we have VIP passes for the Korn concert. Yeah.
I knew it. He's like, you cannot do the live stream, Mom. Oh no, Jay!
Hey, Sori, how does it feel cheating on typo negative with pain of salvation? Very good. Very good. What will the left do when MAGA wins again? I believe that's an interesting question. It seems to me that the left is bound and... Can somebody give me a Pepsi? It seems like the left is bound and determined to give Trump 2020, so I don't know how to answer that question. Do you literally believe Muhammad was the messenger? Because if you did, you'd be a Muslim. Right. If I believed that Muhammad was literally the messenger of Allah, then I would be a Muslim. I don't, so I'm not. Is it okay to believe, but to also question what you believe in religion? Ernie, if it's not, then I'm screwed, because I have questions every day. Or I talk to you people, then I go, wait a second. Like, that's why I appreciated the Bible Bash so much last week, because it gave me it was a cathartic moment where I could voice some of my issues with Christianity as I'm answering questions about Christianity. I'm a terrible... I think I'm probably the worst advertiser of Christianity of all time. But I like the Bible Bash for that reason. Can Orion do backing vocals in my Screamo band? Favorite Korn song is Got the Life. All time. It's my favorite song of all time, period. It's a song that got me into metal. It's the reason I have 3 guitars. It's the reason we have this channel, Got the Life. So, yeah. I'm going to call in soon to give an insider take on social media platforming. Okay, sure.
And have Zoe change what needs to be changed.
Got the Life is my second favorite Korn song. Ooh. First is Falling Away From Me. Yeah, Falling Away From Me, it was just a crazy time to be a Korn fan around 99, 2000.
Figures.
It was just a crazy time to be a Korn fan. That was like the golden age right there. Daddy's the only halfway decent Korn song. I stand by this opinion as being factual. Ben is the greatest, man. He is the greatest. What do you think of only 25% of white evangelicals wanting people seeking asylum to return home? Can you differ from welcome stranger messages Christians? Yeah. lunchtime catch-up podcast. I have no idea what is going on in the minds of evangelical Christians right now.
For what? What's happening?
Asylum seekers. Like, there was this poll that just got released that said that, you know, most evangelicals don't believe we have a responsibility to asylum seekers, or, you know, the whole immigration.
Oh, well, yeah. Yep.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
And what did they ask? Why Christians are like that?
Yeah. It's like, how can you reconcile that with the welcome the stranger passages? And keep in mind, everyone.
I don't know.
No, go ahead.
I don't know, because whenever I talk to them, they just keep saying stuff about obeying the laws of the land. Well, that's the law of the land, which is crazy because these are the same people that are against abortion.
Right.
And that's the law of the land, that you can kill babies at that age. So
Seduct.
it's not, they're not being
consistent. Right.
And when you try to bring up the inconsistency, it really doesn't seem to matter. They just...
Yeah.
Abortion is one topic that they're not okay with, and the other one they're okay. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
the law, man.
It's unbelievable. And keep in mind, the welcome to stranger passages are all in the Old Testament. And so the Old Testament is generally looked upon as the harsher version of God.
Right.
So if you've got a foreign policy ideology that's harsher than the Old Testament, there's a problem. Now, I don't believe that the Old Testament laws were harsh. I'm just saying I don't have the time to bore you guys with the nuances between the Old and New Testament. I'm just saying, if you've got a foreign policy that's less compassionate than the Old Testament, then there's a serious problem. What is your take on the Epstein case? I am withholding judgment until all the facts come out. So, I'm waiting. I think that's a very, very dangerous topic, and I don't want to immediately presume guilt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't want to immediately presume guilt on such a topic with so much gravity. I'm not a fan of Trump's and his inner circle of billionaires, but I also know my propensity to be biased against them because they're a group of people that I'm not particularly fond of. To me, those guys represent the absolute worst that capitalism has to offer. But knowing the fact that I have that bias is one of the reasons I'm keeping extremely quiet about it until we get irrefutable evidence that Mr. Epstein did what he's accused of doing.
Look, Kellen draws. By the way, the Chords and Notes channel you talked about in the Buckethead video is not mine. Poor whoever that was that owns the channel.
I knew it. I knew it. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
I don't know about any festivals we're going. There's a Killswitch Engage festival that's happening that we're talking to a publicist right now about. So we're trying to get that locked down. So there you go. They're asking Kellen Dross what his YouTube channel is. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Justice for Chords and Notes. I do. Okay, Kellen Dross, what's your reaction channel?
Yeah. Tell us. Oh, I know, Jeff. I agree. He says, my question of evangelicals is, what if God told them to come here? I mean, they traveled 7,000 miles or more on foot and survived. You think maybe God was helping them? God was absolutely helping them. I mean, I don't know what they would say. It's sometimes it's a very frustrating conversation to have because you're like, it feels so obvious.
Right.
And it's like, how are you not seeing this? And then, I don't know. It's a very frustrating. Frustrating.
Who's on the line?
Ernie again.
Talk to me,
Crazy
Ernie.
Eyes.
What's up, big homie?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I had a question, and it's more of a music thing, cause like I've been like overthinking about this for so long, but when like doing interviews, is it bad when you like ask the same questions to different bands though?
I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad at all. Who did you do that with?
I mean, I've kind of been doing that a little bit. Like, I've interviewed the Veer Union and just, like, you know, Adelita's Way and, like, other bands. And, like, Raven Black, like, I kind of use a little bit of the same questions over and over. But, like, I kind of feel like when I listen back, like it bores me, maybe.
Well,
and I kind of feel like if it bores me, that it might be boring, you know, like the people that listen.
The big thing about interviews for me when I interview bands is, we freestyle a lot of the stuff that we do. Mm-hmm. We don't pre-write anything.
Right.
But when I go to interview a band, I think to myself, you know, what would I want to know if I was a fan of this particular band? Most of the bands we listen to, we're fans of, but especially at the beginning, we just got introduced. Like Niebla Viscaris, we had only heard one song. Thy Art Is Murder, we'd only heard one song. So I didn't know anything about them. And so it was just a conversation back and forth between a couple people talking about music. And it's you know, we treat it less about, you know, interviewing a band per se as it is interviewing a person who plays music. And then, you know, it kind of has a different feel to it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and the way that I label, like, all my interviews is, you know, like, conversation with Raven Black, or conversation with Korn, or, you know, like, I've never interviewed Korn, but if I interviewed Korn, you know, it would just be the topic, interview or conversation with Korn.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, they're just people, like, you know, it's like people kind of freak out sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, all the Facebook, you know, gurus will tell you that the main thing is, you know, about attracting people is the thumbnail.
Because, like, all the bands that I listen to or that I interview, I've never heard of them before, you know? So I asked them the questions because, like, I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think you're doing great. I think the biggest thing, obviously, is landing the interview. There are not a lot of channels that are actually interviewing the artists, which to me, it was a no-brainer at the time. I was like...
Yeah.
I was like, that's, you know... We saw this one channel was retweeting every time a band would mention them. And I just thought to myself, why would you do that? Like, why don't you just go interview the band? So, kudos to you for landing the interview, bro.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to, like, I emailed 11-7, which is Hell Yeah's record label. And, you know, I waited like maybe a week and they got back to me and they kind of told me, like, it can't be a face-to-face, but it could be a phone interview. And I kind of just, you know, like, holy smokes, it might happen.
Right. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, but, like, I just needed some feedback from that stuff, because honestly, it freaks me out every time I interview somebody.
Well, send me a link to a couple of your interviews, and I'll check it out, so I'll have more of an informed idea.
All right, and do you want me to do it through the Facebook Messenger, through the Village?
Yep, Facebook Messenger would be cool.
All right, I will.
Cool,
Thank
bro.
you so much, Vin.
No doubt. Anytime.
All right, see you back in chat.
Peace.
Like.
That's the big homie, Ernie. I was about to say Raul. Ernie. Another mistake.
Yeah, you need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
That fight was stupid, man. I just saw parts of it, but I'm like, what the heck? At Disneyland or Disney World.
Gosh,
what the heck?
With the Ignatz.
Stop it.
Ridiculous. Way to push forward the cause. That's what MLK
is
died
heaven
for.
subjective? And also, if you don't see your family in heaven, is it really heaven?
Who asked that?
Milan
Mikho. Yeah, well, that's a good question. Answer.
Is heaven subjective? Well, I don't understand what he means by is heaven subjective. Like, is it different depending on what you want it to be? Is that what it means? Is that what you think he means?
I don't know. Ask him a clarifying question.
Milan, what do you mean by that? Silver, that's how it is in my head. I'm like, sometimes I watch the streams after, and I'm like, I made no reaction when I was typing that, but I was actually quite entertained as I was answering that person back. Leah, how long have you listened to Judas Priest, and you still don't like them? Something wicked. Welcome.
Culpy in the house. What's good, Culpy?
Oh my gosh, Leah. You told Leah to get you mega gear?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Oh.
I'm going to walk around Bates. We're going to do a live stream.
Yes.
And see if them boys want any smoke with Vincent.
Yes.
They don't want any smoke with me. Can I find it on YouTube? Yeah, just look for, black people being ignorant in public on Disney. You'll find it.
Okay, wait. Did he type back yet?
Oh, Z just called us. Call us again, Z.
Oh, okay. So yes, but what makes heaven heaven is that like God is there. You're so much better at answering these than I am, but like, it's not like you physically have all these things that you like love. It's that, you know how like when you're really in love with somebody and you're with that person, like, and you're like all crazy about them, it doesn't really matter where you are or what you're doing, you're just happy to be with them. Well, heaven is kind of like that. I mean, it's going to be awesome besides that. Like, there's plenty of awesome things about it, but the main reason why heaven is so great for someone who loves God is because God is there.
Good. Zonia in the house.
Hi,
hey.
Zonia.
Hello.
What's good, Z?
Just settling down to eat my dinner.
What's for dinner?
Picked up a meal from a gluten-free restaurant next to my office. Now I'm back at my office eating it.
What's the meal? What is it? What are you eating? What are you consuming?
It's called a garden box. It's a brown rice box kind of dish thing with tofu and a whole bunch of vegetables.
Are you a vegan?
No.
I am a basically
mostly,
sustainability diet kind of person. So I'll eat whatever is sustainable and that isn't cruel.
Yeah, I remember that from when we went out to eat.
So mostly a vegan. You don't eat meat.
Sometimes I'm a vegan, sometimes more vegetarian, and I don't eat animal flesh, but I have a few times when I really needed it.
Right.
Like when I was recovering from my spine surgery, I was having difficulty getting enough protein, and so the doctors advised that I have some fish at least.
Yep.
So I started eating a little fish when I was recovering from my spine surgery.
Yeah. Silver said, "Oh, look, it's Zonia, the most famous leader of Anarchy 99."
Everybody's laughing.
Poor Silver. He really doesn't get it.
Okay, so what do you got?
All right, I figured I'd give you an insider's view of social media.
So you're one of those evil bastards that are part of the plutocracy, Zonia.
I'm actually probably one of the most evil, like the worst, if you really want to look at it and what my job is.
Right. So talk to me about.
My job is data mining all you suckers.
Yeah. So talk to me.
All right. Well, this narrative that's going around about how liberal politics are seeping into social media companies, and that's what's causing the mass deplatforming of right-wing opinion and content creators, is just that. It's a narrative, and it's not founded in truth.
Okay.
It's So, might as well talk a little bit about what moves things in business here. So, a lot of people, even M. Deathfan will claim this. He says that he's in big tech. I don't know who he works for, but even he claims that there's this big liberal bias in big tech. And, well, here in Silicon Valley, at least, it's very libertarian. We're very libertarian here. We're major supporters of freedom of speech, even the Second Amendment. One of those popular offsites that we do here in tech is going to the range and shooting guns, and many of us are gun owners. So there's this sort of this myth from the outside that there's some like big liberal bias in tech, but no, we're all making six-figure salaries. We're not a bunch of bleeding heart liberals. We're actually capitalists, and we keep moving from job to job to get more and more money, getting bigger and bigger paychecks, competing, with the salaries that are offered by other companies, and they keep going up. And, we're making $500,000 a year in salary as just like basic engineers, not even as leaders. You get even more than that if you're in a more serious leadership role, or you're, like a principal or something like that. So, if you think that a bunch of $250,000 salaried employees are a bunch of, bleeding heart liberals that are going to try and shut down people's free speech, you don't know what you're talking about.
So, what's driving the deplatforming then? Because it seems to be only right-wing folks who are getting targeted.
Yeah, and there's actually a good reason for it. It's about revenue in our verticals, right? Okay. So all the decisions are made by the people who run the companies. The people who run the companies are not the engineers. Though we are typically invested in our own companies, the majority shareholders are banks and venture capitalists and hedge funds. And so they drive all the decision-making from the top down. So the board of directors is going to be stacked with all the representatives of the banks and the hedge funds and the venture capitalists, trying to make sure that they get the maximum out of the dollars that they've invested in the company. So that's where all the decision-making comes from. So the question is, how are those decisions being biased against conservative opinion space? Well, it's actually pretty simple. As an investor, I get a lot of insight into this. Also, being somebody who works on the data back end and analyzes all the data. Well, I don't do so much data analysis anymore. I used to. But analyzing the data, it comes down to the performance of our verticals. And in the performance of our verticals, we have to turn these things into money. YouTube is not something that's free for us, or, Facebook or Instagram, etc. That costs us money to provide the resources and those services. So we have to make money off of it. We can make money off of a number of different verticals. Some of those verticals are advertising. Some of them are paid for features. You want the check mark and validation on Instagram, you pay money for that feature. You want access to more in-mails that you can send out and see more job opportunities on LinkedIn, you pay for premium or, something like that, or you pay for your account.
Just give me a second here, Z, because Doug brings up a good point. Alex Jones brought in tons of revenue for YouTube. So
not really. He did.
What do you mean, not really?
It's all relative. Did he bring in a ton of revenue as compared to who? Right. So it's about the performance of the verticals.
Okay, compared
all
to
that
us.
Matters. Let's say compared to TYT, because they're going to be the competitor, right?
Well, I'm not understanding the logic, Z. Even if TYT made more than him, let's say he pulled in $80 million a year for YouTube and TYT did $100 million a year. Why cut a program that's going to get you $80 million a year?
It's about revenue verticals and their potential performance. So when you analyze the trajectory of a vertical and the different components within that vertical, say TYT is one component, Alex Jones is the other component, or InfoWars is the other component. You take a look at what the trajectory is and the potential revenue growth, right? TYT's audience keeps growing. And the reason why their audience keeps growing is because their message caters to a broader range of people, a more diverse range of people.
I completely disagree with you.
It caters to Indians. It caters to Latin Americans. It caters to white people, etc.
No, I completely disagree with that statement. TYT appeals to a very niche political perspective.
Politically, yes, but
so does
culturally, no.
Alex Jones is the same. I still don't understand why you would deplatform Alex Jones. He's got millions of views per video.
Doesn't matter. Matters is, are those views going to grow? Are there going to be more people? If you tap out your market, let's say that your box of people that can potentially click on an ad is 100 people. If all 100 people click on that, well, then you've tapped out. That's the maximum that revenue model can grow, as long as that box contains only 100 people of potential clickers in it, right? So you need to find a way to make that grow more, so you can multiply that into 300, 400, because there's more humans out there that can click on that ad.
Z, as a person who's been in back office decisions that affect thousands of people, I get what you're saying. Only if that person is on your payroll and biting into your revenue with labor cost. Alex Jones costs YouTube nothing. So even if his numbers are declining, you're completely losing profit by completely deplatforming this guy. Furthermore, you run the risk.
He's hurting the revenue model, which he was, and that's actually been shown.
So how was Alex Jones hurting their revenue model? Let me ask the question this way: how is deplatforming Alex Jones better for YouTube financially?
Because if they can get rid of somebody who's capping the revenue model, and they can possibly uncap it at that point, it's worth it to get rid of the person, even if they make you a little bit of money, because their vertical is not going to grow with that person's participation in the vertical, right? And that's just the way these decisions are made. It would be worth it to sacrifice $100 if all you know is you're only going to get that $100 repeatedly, and it's not going to grow much more than maybe a few cents each time, when you've got other people that you can prioritize the resources for that are going to give you thousands of dollars, and they're going to grow by hundreds of dollars each time.
That makes no sense. No, it makes no sense.
You keep Alex Jones.
You keep Alex Jones and his billions of views, and then you just page one the other folks that you're trying to promote. That's what YouTube does with their algorithm. They just page one you if they want you to grow. Like, for example, my Middle America channel. I shoot a video once every 4 or 5. Oh, just give me a second.
All right.
I shoot a video every 4 or 5 weeks. Well, there was this one stretch where I shot one every day, and then I did that Candace Owens video, and they page one me. They put me on the first page, and if you look at my stats for Middle America, that one has like 20,000 views and is by far the most popular video. It wasn't the best video I shot, but it just so happens that YouTube said, hey, Vin, look, we're rewarding you with doing daily content, so how about you keep doing daily content, we'll keep page one-ing you. That's how YouTube manipulates their audience. I don't see how killing a channel that has over 2 billion views and is in mainstream media as a flashpoint, I don't see how that helps them financially. You still haven't explained that to me.
Well, the second component, of course, is then the complaints, right? And you've got left-wing and right-wing channels that are both being flagged for violations and that have a lot of complaints. And they can't address all of them. It's just there's way too much to go through. So what they're doing is they're stack ranking the complaints based on the potential revenue increase of each of those violators, right? So they're going to prioritize the ones that potentially hold back revenue more so than the ones that don't hold it back.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So
it's a combination of things that are going on there. They're looking at the individual componentized value and potential revenue for that vertical based on those individual people or individual content creators. And then they're stack ranking that against what they need to address in terms of violations or complaints. And they're going to prioritize the ones that are more likely to hold back revenue over the ones that are less likely to hold back revenue.
Right. Okay, so I could see how if Vox and a couple of these other groups get together and do a let's get out of YouTube thing because they're supporting quote unquote hate speech, I could see how YouTube would have a vested interest in shutting down Alex Jones, because even though they've made X millions of dollars in ad revenue from Alex Jones, and here's something people don't understand. If I say my video was demonetized, that doesn't mean that YouTube is not collecting ad revenue. That means that I can't collect ad revenue. So for all of our music videos, a percentage goes to YouTube and a percentage goes to the record label, because 99% of our stuff is demonetized. On the Middle America channel, like for example, I talked about Antifa last Fireside, so that automatically is going to get you a yellow $sign, which means it's for review. And then they're going to come back to me in 3 days and say, we're taking all your money because, whatever. So just because somebody gets demonetized, don't interpret that as YouTube's not getting the money. It simply means that YouTube is going to run an ad on your video and not pay you. Now, I know a lot of reactors that say, well, then I'm going to take down the channel, because you can decide whether or not to put commercials on your videos. And what I told the brother was, look, if you tell YouTube you can still make money off me, even if I can't make money off of you, they're much more likely to be friendly to you with the algorithm than not. Now, the brother didn't listen to me, and he doesn't understand why. They're not page one-ing him, but what can you do? But to your point, when all these people get together and say this is hate speech, and now YouTube is supporting hate speech, like Vox tried to do with, I forgot the guy's name, the comedian, the right-wing comedian guy, and they put that political pressure on them, I understand YouTube saying, well, shit, we gotta preempt this. We gotta show that we will not tolerate hate speech and deplatform Farrakhan and deplatform Jones and Varg and all the rest of it.
And that pressure comes from advertisers too, because the advertisers say, hey, we want everybody to buy our stuff. We don't care what they look like or, what their ethnicity is or their religion is. We want them all to pay money for something that they don't need, right?
Correct.
So,
right.
That's another thing. If your message is toxic toward a broad range of people and positive toward a narrow range of people, well, then you're not going to be a very valuable component of that vertical. And so you're going to be at high risk if there's going to be complaints about you, because they're going to look at it and they're going to go, all right, you're holding back the growth of the revenue for this vertical. Sorry, bye.
I agree. As good capitalists, I don't believe that, well, I'll say it this way. I think when it comes to a guy like Alex Jones and Farrakhan, I think YouTube held its nose while they were cashing those checks. And I think left to them, they'd leave those folks alone. It's the political pressure that then gets translated into a future red mark when you're doing your quarterly estimations that makes them make certain decisions. I don't believe, and this is probably where I disagree with the right-wing conspiracy folks, I don't believe that the folks in YouTube were a bunch of leftists who are saying, yeah, Alex Jones made us X amount of money, and he's going to make us X amount of money in the future, but we just have to do this because of our left-wing ideology. Bullshit.
Yeah, no way.
What they're saying is, we're going to get so much backlash from this that we have got to show the people that we have convictions. And I know this is to be a fact, because YouTube does this outside of what... So a normal person, and excuse me when I say this, guys, it's just we're kind of doing this for a career, so let me agree at this part with Zonia. And Zonia, give me 2 minutes and I'll pass the ball back to you.
Sure.
So a normal person, when you see YouTube make a move, it only gets sent to the mainstream in the event of something major like an Alex Jones or a Farrakhan getting deplatformed. But YouTube has made tons of crazy decisions based off of the threat of you guys are supporting something terrible. Let me give you an example. About 4 months ago, there was a single YouTuber. Wasn't on PewDiePie level big, but he was a big guy. I'm not going to mention him. And he basically made a statement that YouTube is supporting pedophiles. What was his evidence? His evidence was there was a YouTube video of a young woman. She had her baby, and the baby was in the tub or something, and the baby was naked or whatever. But it was like a 2-month-old. And then in the comment section, there are a couple people saying the sick shit that you hear sick motherfuckers say when, whatever, right? Yeah. And so this guy shoots a 10-minute video saying YouTube is supporting pedophiles. YouTube's not doing anything about this. So now what happened? If you feature a child in your video, YouTube will automatically demonetize your video and freeze the comments. So, for example, in a couple of the My Sori Life videos, you can go and still check it out yourself. You'll see that there's a couple videos that don't even have a comment under it. And it's not because people weren't commenting, because they were in the live stream. The reason is because of that policy made from that one video. So YouTube makes these weird, like, across-the-board decisions that are silly. Now, we know that happens because we're YouTubers, and so we're in certain networks, and people say, hey, you guys, this is on. So, for example, if we were to feature Orion in this in the thumbnail, or if Orion was in the first 10 minutes of this video, you wouldn't be able to see any comments or anything like that. It would get locked and they would immediately get demonetized. So that's just one example of these sweeping things, and some channels actually got shut down for this. Like good, wholesome, like mom channels got shut down for this.
Like toy review channels. There was like a really big toy review channel that got shut down for a while after that.
Correct. So YouTube makes these decisions. It's not because they're running around saying, this is terrible, we love kids, we want to protect kids. YouTube doesn't give a damn about that. But they don't want it to go out that YouTube is a platform and Google as a platform is supporting pedophiles. And so here's where I say the left comes in. And now I'm going to pass the ball back to you, Zoni. There are a few people with the influence that have the knowledge that YouTube operates this way. And because YouTube is such a behemoth, they really, what I say to people when because I'm in groups or whatever, people complain about it. What I say is, what YouTube is doing has never been done in human history. There's no playbook for them to go to and say, this is how you're supposed to do it. In 20 to 30 years, they'll figure it out. But they're going to make these sweeping moves if a person of influence calls them out and then it gets picked up by CNN or Fox. Forget about it. And so this is where the left comes in. I don't believe there's a leftist conspiracy within Google and YouTube and DeathFan. What I do believe, though, is that there are many people on the left who do not believe in free speech and who do want to shut down opposing voices. And they know that they have influence, like that guy on Vox, I forgot what his name was, that tried to get Steven Crowder shut down. They want people silenced who disagree with them, and so they know to apply that pressure to YouTube because they know that Google's bottom line is their revenue. And if they can convince Google/YouTube that this particular individual is going to be a detriment to your revenue shares and your bottom line and your shareholders because we're going to make him a detriment, then they will act. And leftists, to me, seem a lot more aggressive about curtailing speech than right-wingers are. So that's my take on the whole deplatforming conspiracy theory. DeathFan, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but now I'm passing it on to Zonia, and I'm going to shut up now and listen because I've been talking too much. Go ahead.
We were actually working on ways. Now, I don't work for Alphabet. I have many friends that do, though. But we were working on ways to actually profit off of right-wing and even far-right ideology. So we were trying to hold out for as long as we could. It wasn't an intentional thing. Yeah. It was an algorithmic thing. Because our algorithms and our deep learning models can actually isolate domains of thought and focus on them. That's why you have these rabbit hole, echo chamber algorithmic problems.
Right.
Where people get radicalized and stuff, is because we design them that way. We're looking for similarities. We have something called natural language processing that finds contextual similarities in language, and it focuses on it and drills down, and it creates additional models to drill down on them more and more and concentrate those messages, so we can take people who identify with that and we can put them basically in a bullpen of content where we can subject them to ads and to features and to products that are whose value is magnified by that tailored ideological message. So we were actually trying to profit off of it. We didn't want to get rid of right-wing ideologues. We actually wanted them to remain on board, not as an intentional thing. It was purely as a numbers thing. We weren't even really looking at that. It was just like, hey, look, well, our models have really concentrated this ideology down to a system that we can profit off of, and we wanted to keep it. But eventually, the many social media companies had to go and start deplatforming the ones with the toxic message that would be detrimental to the overall growth of our revenue verticals, right? So it was something we were willing to ignore for the longest time. And the other thing to consider about us is that many of these companies, like the one that I work for, including Google, are run by some of the pioneers of the early internet before most people knew it existed. So we're there from the beginning as the original anarchists online. We want everything to be free.
What did you think about that? I haven't looked at it, but the video where the Google exec supposedly admitted that they were targeting right wingers. I haven't seen the video yet,
Oh, you should see it, because I think even though you're not technical, you work with technical people. I think you'd sniff it out. It's all techno-babble bullshit.
Okay.
That's the Project Veritas thing, right?
Like I said, I'm not sure, but
with the guy who's all blacked out and his voice is distorted.
I thought it was a woman. Well, somebody put the link in the thingamajiggy.
There was one that was shared by Dave Rubin, and it was Project Veritas with.
You there? There you go. Or did I run out of battery? Stand by, guys. Zonia will return shortly. Damn it, I'm out of battery. Give me a second. Back to your regular scheduled program in a minute. All right, friends. Well, phone's dead, but it'll be back. Yeah, Zonia will be back after these messages. My phone died, and Vin disappeared. What the heck happened? Is that a camera issue? Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was a female Google exec. Somebody get me or tell me how to search in YouTube for that female Google exec who made that statement. The company that fired an employee after Google asked why there are almost no women in tech field, so he told them why in a non-hateful memo. They fired him for it. Yeah, I remember when Google did that, for sure. Because he's an unprofessional host. Also true. Whoever controls the biggest financial power can orchestrate social change via crowdsourcing change. I'm not sure that liberals control the biggest financial power, Thomas. I just think that their tactic, conservatives are... fall back on the freedom of speech, right to bear arms, those types of things. And it's clear to me that there are some liberals, I'm not talking about all liberals, but there are some liberals who genuinely do not believe in free speech and genuinely believe that any type of speech that makes them uncomfortable or hurts their feelings is hate speech. And it's not good enough for them to disagree in the public square. They believe in silencing and attacking people who they disagree with. And so they're more likely to funnel their their dollars into putting economic pressure onto the Googles and the YouTubes. Whereas a right-winger is going to take his money. It doesn't even go into his mind to use his money for that purpose. He's going to take his money and invest it in a hedge fund or something. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious. Antifa is one of those examples, but there's a lot of leftists out there out front in the media who don't believe in free speech at all. Globalists are mostly leftists. Yeah, I mean, if you're an immigrant in the U.S. and a right-wing channel is telling immigrants to leave, that's a toxic message to the immigrant. Hey, Vin, I had a deep conversation today with a Christian about the divine council. Why would Yahweh need a council? Whoa! Divine council is like my second favorite topic. We got to make that a subject for the one of the Bible bashes, Ian. I love divine council. I'm so happy that so many people are catching on to it. Yahweh doesn't need a divine council, but he loves it because he loves community and he loves to share with his created beings. He enjoys that. He revels in it. And being a father, I understand why. At some point, all my kids are going to be on the board for Vin and Sori Limited for our corporation. They're all going to be on the board, and it's because there's nothing that you love more as a father than seeing your sons and your daughters conduct your business with you. As a matter of fact, the members of the Divine Council are called B'nai Elohim, sons of God. So God doesn't need a Divine Council, but it's within his nature to do things in community. I mean, think about it. He made himself a trinity, which I don't even begin to know what that even means. Antifa is allowed to recruit on social media openly. I agree. Turn the phone back on while it is charging. How far do you go down the henotheist road? That road is, I don't think you have to travel very deeply down there. Let me turn the phone back on while it's charging. Ben and Zoni are going back and forth. That's awesome. Finn, you were right. I said Solomon was better than Paul. You told me to read Romans 8. I did. You win. See? Isn't it beautiful? Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? No! And all these things were more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life nor angels nor demons nor the past nor the present will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Jesus Christ our Lord. Come on, man. That's it. Boom. The greatest passage of all time. Antifa are essentially the modern equivalent of sell swords, are they not? They are paid thugs. It's not grassroots, but ordinary people are buying into Black Skull masks from China on a whim. I don't know exactly what the heck who populates that group of people. I do know that they're playing a very, very dangerous game. And I'm not so much... See, I'm very easy to misinterpret. There's a couple major problems I have with Antifa. One is the fact that they don't believe in free speech. Two, the fact that they attack people that they believe are weak. Three, because they're gift wrapping President Trump another 4 years. And four, because they are going to get themselves killed. And they're young and naive, and they don't understand how guns operate. And I'm, as a father who's got a kid that's about 13, 14 years old, I see my kids in those situations. and it frustrates me that there aren't older, cooler heads within their little movement that can warn these kids that they're about to do something and get themselves killed. That's what's bothering me about Antifa. Yeah, they're all middle-class white kids who have never struggled, never been in any real conflict. I saw some of them, like the way they were attacking that journalist. I'm like, these guys have never really been in a real conflict, much less an armed conflict. That's why the Proud Boys beat the hell out of them. I'm not a fan of the Proud Boys either. The problem is that you justify groups like that when you do the shit that you did to that journalist. Because I got videos of the Proud Boys fighting Antifa members, but then I got videos of Antifa members fighting journalists, and those are not equivalent conflicts. Yeah. Thomas, it's surprising that nobody has died as a result of, now somebody died in an Antifa riot, the Unite the Right riot, where that young lady got hit by the car. Somebody died. So there you go. Left-wing ideology is more valuable than right-wing ideology right now. Well, I agree, but that's because the left is concentrating their capital and the money generated, the power generated from that capital to silence people, and right-wingers aren't playing that game for whatever reason. Yeah. They beat up the. Now I know some gay dudes that can get busy. I knew one particular gay dude that. Let me tell you something. That man, calm as anything under pressure. Had his breath control down like you wouldn't believe. I know some gay dudes that can get down, but this particular gay dude, the gay Asian dude, he. They know who to go after. I'll tell you what, my gay friend, they wouldn't want any smoke with him whatsoever. Does depression offer a specific perspective on artwork and subtlety? Probably, Milan. That's because conservatives are winning. Trump will get reelected because of the left. Alex... it's 2019. We're a year away. They still haven't figured it out. It's mind-boggling to me. Yes, I did watch the video, Kellen Dross, from the if you're talking about the 17-minute one, from the very objective person who did it. Yeah, I watched it. I was going to shoot a response video to it, and I just decided against it. It's, to me, the left in America has a severe lack of self-awareness. From the old guard leftists who are trying to smear the new progressive AOC movement. Instead of bringing them under your wing, they're attacking them a year before the presidential election to supporting things like Antifa or not coming out and actively speaking against it. I think the left has really got to figure it out, unless they're going to gift wrap Mr. Trump another 4 years. Trump will get reelected because the Democrats have become socialists. I don't think so, Rob, because like I said, I would happily identify as a socialist if it can get everybody covered for health insurance. That's not the issue. That as a matter of fact, to me, it's the opposite of the issue. Biden is I don't really see a lot of difference between Biden and Trump as far as economic policy goes, and that's the guy people are projecting is going to win the Democratic primary. So I don't think socialism is the problem. If they would go all in on social medicine, at least, I think they'd be in much better shape. But you got some people saying, let's go the Medicare for all route. Let's be progressive. The Justice Democrats, the progressive guys, the TYT group. And then you've got other elements within the Democratic Party that's saying, wait a second, hey, stop talking about Glass-Steagall, stop talking about Medicare for all, stop talking about, campaign finance reform, stop all that stuff, because that's how I'm paying for my house. And they haven't figured it out. And I'm sorry, but the Republican Party is univocal. They're united. They had the Never Trump campaign and all that, and he still won, and they all lined up behind him. So it's not looking good for the left. Hey, what's up? Something Wicked. Kellendross. Yeah, I'm inclined to vote for any. Look, I've got two major issues. You guys, I talk about them all the time. Medicare for all. I'm not gonna ever accept that people are dying in my country before the prime of their lives for preventable issues like diabetes and obviously abortion. Now, if I was a Democrat, what I would say is on the question of abortion, leave it to the states. That's what I would do if I was a Democrat. So if I could find a Democratic candidate who said, let's leave that to the states and then we impose Medicare for all, I would love that person. I'd get a tattoo of that person. I don't care who they are.
What the heck?
That's not necessarily socialism, though. I agree. Like I said, I'm very ignorant on the specific ism that socialism is. But if you can get me Medicare for all, then you're in good shape. Do you think it's okay for Democrats to champion abortion at 9 months? No, I don't even think it's appropriate for them to champion abortion at 9 weeks. So, of course not. But a good way to dodge that whole situation is simply to say, leave it to the states. If you're pro-choice, then leave it to the states. Let the states vote on it. Who's your favorite rapper? Notorious B.I.G. Easy. Biggie Smalls is the illest. B.I.G.G.I.E. a.k.a. B.I.G. Get it? Biggie, also known as the Bon Appetit. Rappers can't sleep, need sleeping. Big keep creeping. Bullets he's seeking. Casualties need treating. Drum rappers need teaching. Lesson A, don't mess with B.I. Oh, I thought he was rack. Now come now. How you so dumb now? Hunt me or be hunted. I got 367 ways to simmer saute. I'm the winner all day. Lights get dimmer down Biggie's hallway. My forte causes Caucasians to say he sounds demented. Car weed scented. If I said it, I meant it. Bite my tongue for no one. Call me evil or unbelievable.
Gershok's asking you to stop. Stop, please. Yes, I'm back, Silver.
Hey, Uncle Dan. Oh, yeah. Give me the loot. Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
No, I took off to start some food because even though Vin said he's not hungry and he's not going to eat later, I don't believe him. You need 4 people.
Don't be a jerk and get smoked over being resistant. Before you get your grave dug from the main dog.
They want to know when the record's coming out.
Throw him in the fiend, you grab him for his cream, and if he start to scream, bomb, bomb, have a nice dream.
Vanilla Ice. I don't even know what Vanilla Ice sounds like.
Trying to call Z, she's unavailable. Your phone died on me while I was having a brilliant discussion.
Hey, you got me.
Yo.
Hey.
Okay, so we were finishing the what do you call it? The deplatforming discussion. Go ahead.
It's all right. You gave me enough time to go off, perform a few abortions, destroy some liberties, convert people to being gay and trans.
All the evil shit that you fucking leftists do to destroy America. Continue.
Yeah, Ben is really angry with me right now. He really wanted something to be angry about, and I guess he found it.
You know Ben.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so you were asking me about some video that came out or something, right?
Yeah, so it wasn't a dude, Z. It was a woman, and she was talking about algorithmically trying to shut down right wing what do you call it? Media outlets on YouTube. Are you familiar with that video?
I haven't seen that one. I did see the Project Veritas one though. That was apparently a Google insider, and I watched it because Dave Rubin shared it out, and I follow him, so I watched it, and I couldn't help but laugh because it was such an obvious hoax, like using a bunch of techno babble and everything, things that are clearly not legitimate.
Yeah, and we had this discussion about people who resort to the techno babble when they're caught. But no, this is a Jen Ganai, head of responsible innovation at Google, and she apparently said some stuff. It's a 2-minute clip, so I'm gonna try to get you the link, and everybody can watch it. Babe, have you figured out how to watch a video and everybody watch it with us at the same time yet? So if you could, that'll be your next mission. If you could figure that out, that would be the next level.
Have you seen people do? Oh yeah, they have done that. Gosh. Yep, I'll try.
That would be great. So here's the link. So you guys can all check it. But it's a 2-minute video. I'm gonna play it. Actually. Yeah, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna mute my mic real quick. Give me a second.
End video to really know what the heck it is that she's saying. And Project Veritas is kind of known for dicing things up and making them confusing to construct their own narrative. So I needed to hear the end-to-end video of her describing what it is that they're doing. I think that what she was probably describing was tracking down extremist behavior, is my guess, to track it down. I don't know what the specifics were.
Okay. The only thing for me is that Google hasn't come out and said, here is the actual context of the video. Usually, when somebody takes you out of context, especially on video, that's so easy to disprove, right? So she says there was the same people who voted for the current president who do not agree with our definition of fairness. So yeah, I mean, it's cool.
She might have been speaking hypothetically, and like she had been coaxed into answering something a certain way, and she was giving a hypothetical, because that's something that another thing that Mike Cernovich is big on is framing questions to get you to say something that he can take out of context. And so he'll say, well, let's put a hypothetical. Let's say that we've got a president that does this, and then get you to answer. So you basically say, oh, well, in that case,
right,
if we had a president that disagreed with us, right? You know, that's the kind of clever shit that he does. He's really good at it. Mike Cernovich is an expert at getting people to say things that he can take out of context and make it look like they're saying something nefarious.
Yeah, two things trouble me about that clip. One is that it's obviously edited. The other thing, though, that troubles me is that Google has not released a, hey, this is what the real truth is type video to refute it. Or, you know, because they could completely destroy that entire thing by simply showing that she was taken out of context. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't have the footage. Maybe the footage came from Mike Cernovich himself.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It would be nice to have them make a statement, but it's possible that they don't even want to muddy themselves with the waters of that, you know, subject.
I mean, they're getting killed right now, though. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they're not getting killed. Everybody's still using their platform.
No, I'm saying they're getting killed as far as their credibility goes. At least for a person like me. For me, right now, I don't completely trust that the video is 100% authentic. But the fact that they're not refuting it, to me, is a major red flag.
What's happening?
Well, if somebody said to you, then, like, this is an old argument. I'm sure you've heard this one before. But if somebody said to you, you know, then why did you murder that man? Right? You know you never murdered anybody. Everybody knows you didn't murder anybody. Right? Why would you even engage in that ridiculous line of discussion? Like somebody levies a threat at you or something. Are you going to refute every, or not threat, but are you going to refute every accusation that people make about you? Or are you just going to say, not even worth engaging, levy all your accusations you want, right?
Well, if
it's
it was
one of those things where you don't engage.
Well,
possibly. I don't know for certain.
Well, if it was something as major as this, because I don't see videos like if it was happening like once a week, and I've already soundly refuted like 8 of them, then I'd say, look, guys, just go to the other videos. You've seen these people do this before. Screw those people. I'm moving on. I'm not dealing with these people anymore. But that's not what's happening.
But Google is notorious for not saying anything. They're very quiet. They don't make official statements. You rarely get to talk to a human. You know, that's kind of their way of operating.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is that
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, Z.
You don't have to buy it. And the reason why you don't have to buy it is because they own and control everything, right? So they're the monopoly.
Well, yeah.
They don't. It's just like Ma Bell back in the days. They didn't need to have a good reputation. They had a terrible one.
Well, yeah, the issue is not whether or not I think that people are going to... Although, I do think that, you know, one of the best principles I've ever heard during a training session was never, ever, ever underestimate the enemy. And I think that Google is making... If she was taken out of context and they don't soundly refute this, I think between the Jordan Peterson, Sargon of Akkad thing where Patreon deplatformed him like randomly, right-wingers are not going to invest their money into doing a gotcha touche to shut down left-wing free speech. But what they will do is, it's dangerous if all of these top right-wing, you know, commentators, talking heads, whatever, if they all get together and say, screw this, we're going to make a conservative, you know, version of YouTube. I think that YouTube believes that they're impenetrable, and I don't think that that's the case. All you need is Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, and a panel of other people to all get together in one giant conference and launch a new program, and that could seriously hurt them. So,
nah, probably wouldn't. But
well, I think it could. Patreon is that I can tell you as I'm not an insider with Patreon. Let's say that, but they were
Patreon you could compete with.
They were definitely hurt by the Jordan Peterson exodus. They were.
Yeah, I mean, the Patreon is definitely something you can compete with. I've been considering making a competitor to Patreon because I have a lot of contacts in the financial tech space. and a lot of people I've worked with in the past as well. So I've been considering doing it myself.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is,
And
what
again,
people don't realize about Google and a lot of the infrastructure that we've got that are, we're running that stuff on. I mean, like the company I work for, and we're small by comparison, we've got just acres and acres and acres of data center space around the globe running just all the infrastructure everywhere, right? Google has even more than we do by an order of magnitude. They've got data centers on ships in the ocean, so...
Well, I don't think that the right-wing whatever version of YouTube or Google needs to directly compete as in overtake them. But if you want to talk about deplatforming folks because it's going to hurt your bottom line, you could have if you had a mass exodus of right-wing bloggers or whatever you want to call them from Google that went to this other group, they don't need to completely have a one-to-one competition with you, but they could severely get hurt if right-wingers decide to leave, because right-wingers are more inclined to boycott than they are to funnel their money into shutting down another person's speech. So I just think
what's the answer to that? When you're a big corporation that's already a monopoly and has unlimited reserves of cash nearly, what do? You buy out the competition.
Yeah, but not if the competition is driven by ideology.
It doesn't matter if their goal at the top is if they end up with a bottom line eventually, because a lot of companies start out with a sort of a code, right? And they're like, oh, well, let's not be evil and let's try and be good and let's do this thing. But eventually, once you get investors and you have majority shareholders at the top who have positioned people onto the board of directors to drive the vision of the company, all the stuff that you said in the beginning about what your company was about and what its values are doesn't matter anymore. It comes down to bottom line, because the investors, they're getting dividends and kickbacks from the shares that they hold versus the value and growth of the value of those shares.
Yeah,
so,
I think you underestimate the vitriol of certain right-wing spots, because you're not in their subculture. And I think that look, at this point when I'm reading what this young lady's saying, I'm not gonna say that everything was given to us in context, because obviously Veritas has a bias, obviously. But the fact that Google's not saying anything, I take that seriously. That to me states at least this woman who's in a position of influence has an obvious agenda and a bias, and she's in a powerful position. Kudos to her. Here's the thing, Z. I don't think, and a lot of my right-wing friends are going to be upset about this, but the fact of the matter is, if you believe in free market capitalism, MDEF fan, then Google has the right to do this with their algorithm. They have the right to promote anybody that they want. So, for me, it's like, well, they're not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything morally wrong. It's their company. They can decide to do whatever they want. But don't come out here and say that you're objective and that you're outside of you're just a dispassionate observer in the political milieu that we find ourselves in. At least this woman who's in a position of influence obviously has an agenda. And I'm going to believe that until Google goes out of its way to refute it.
Well, the thing is, once you tie your corporate values, well, not even corporate values, once you tie your corporation to profitability, whatever you had as values will get chipped away at eventually. And you have to basically say that bottom line doesn't matter. You have to have that stance from the beginning and say profit is not our goal, and we don't want investors driving the decision making of the company. So that means you need to remain private. You need to have the only investors being, people who are employees of the company, and you need to not veer toward the direction of profit. And that's how you would do that. You could do like a 501c4, kind of set up and do that. But it's hard to have a strong platform without investment and also growth in capital to fund the platform.
If they held a meeting of all the right-wing ideologues, and they had a special guest, Donald Trump, to launch. If they said we need 3 million people to subscribe, that wouldn't significantly hurt YouTube.
Well, because capitalism drives everything currently, which means inflation keeps going up. So as long as you've got something that costs you something to maintain, you need to make sure that you're pulling in not just revenue regularly, but pulling in revenue that's relative to the growth of the inflation. Because otherwise you hit a point where it's critical and your platform costs you more.
You're talking about sustainability. I'm not talking about sustainability.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about people with an agenda to hurt YouTube. And honestly, Z, if they deplatformed a handful of people because of the revenue implications of keeping them on, then there are greater revenue implications if right-wing think tanks all have a massive exodus. Like, that's going to hurt you a lot more than keeping Alex Jones would. So
then you just do like what I was saying before, you buy out. And that's back to my point. If their platform is totally free and it's completely community run, well then I suppose that they could pull it off. But the thing is, nothing is free because capitalism drives everything. And inflation keeps going up, so everything's going to cost you something.
Yeah, but if they bought the right-wing version of YouTube, then they would have to change their ideology about censoring right-wing content. They'd have learned their lesson.
No, they just acquire them for the time being, wait for them to move again, and then buy them up again. That's what's already been done.
You're missing my point. My point is they wouldn't want to go through that entire rigmarole again. They would have learned their lesson. But this lady is obviously this woman is obviously biased. And I don't think, MDeathFan, that you can say that all of YouTube is like this. Now, I will say, MDeathFan, she's in a position of power and authority and influence. Absolutely. But all I'm seeing from this video is that she's extremely biased, and there's nothing else I can come to a conclusion about because YouTube, Google, won't respond about it. So I'm just left to say, well, that's what she really thinks, and that's what she's going to do.
The power of the investor is not to be underestimated. I think that's what a lot of people miss. Is like I'm a major investor in NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's performance has been a little bit lagging recently. And I'm motivated because I'm getting paid dividends as an investor of NVIDIA. I'm motivated to ensure that they continue, that performance is maintained and they keep hitting their marks.
Yeah.
And I'm motivated to reach out to my representative on the board of directors and say something about it when they're not hitting their mark. So as it is, most of these companies are run pretty much exclusively by banks. You got some people like myself that are major investors, but we're nothing compared to the large capital and proxy investors that there are. Like, the proxy investors are like hedge funds and such and venture capitalists. And they've got so much power, if you accumulate all the people who are proxy investing through them and how many shares that is, that's a vast majority of the company's shares that are typically held by these individual groups. And they can sit there and they can go and say, you need to solve this problem, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what the ethics of the employees or the original founders of the company have to, those are going to be taught, going to be set aside, and you got to bet the board of directors, they're going to jump on this and they're going to address the issue and make sure the investors are happy, because the last thing you want is for everybody to liquidate or short and then suddenly the value of the entire company tanks out of nowhere and you're a fraction of the value that you were at before.
Yeah. So, again, this is a war of ideals, and leftists are investing their capital to silence people, and I think right-wingers... They are. That's
it's
obvious.
Not even just leftists.
No, it's leftists.
We're talking venture capitalists. They're not left-wing.
Well,
these are generally anarcho-capitalists.
The calls to shut down certain groups have all come from the left. as far as social media goes.
Mm-hmm. But
So
the investors are not typically left wing.
Right, but they influence the investors in the sense that your major investors are going to say, hey, I don't want to see all this bad juju on CNN about you. Fix this problem.
Well, it just comes down to, are you hitting your performance marks? They care about the numbers, right? And so if there is something that's hindering those numbers, they're going to say, solve it. And even though that investor may not actually agree with the reasoning behind the impact on the numbers, they're still going to say, solve it.
Yeah. Interesting times we live in, ladies and gents. Good Lord.
Well, one thing I'd like to say, though, and, while I'm on here, because I know Ben has been having a field day with pegging me as an immoral, filthy capitalist. I actually do have a strong ethics, strong code of ethics that I live by, and I refuse to profit off of the suffering of others. So I'm very picky about who I'm invested in and where I get my money from. And that's also the reason why I don't work at Facebook, because I've actually had many opportunities to work in very lofty positions in Facebook, because I have people there who have been trying to get me in there for years, same with Google, and I've turned them down every time. And there's a reason for that. I've stuck with the company that I've been at now because we've done a pretty good job of sticking to our code. However, we're owned by one of the biggest tech companies in the world now, and I've been a little worried about what's going to happen. So far, we've still got our autonomy, which is good. I've definitely been at the point where I'm like, okay, is it time for me to start looking for a new job? Because I really don't want to be at a company that is doing the kind of shit that our parent company is historically known for doing.
Yeah.
Hey, Zonia, MDeathFan has a thing he wants to say, but Google took $650 million in taxpayer subsidies for a company headquartered in the U.S. There is an argument there that they lost their right to discriminate. What do you have to say about this?
Still a private company. It doesn't matter.
Was it worth the $5, MDeathFan?
Is that so? Are you saying that the 1% lost their autonomy because they got all of your tax dollars?
That's for you to answer, MDeathFan.
I'm completely lost in the conversation. I don't know where we're at. So,
look, it's a lot of the tax kickbacks that I get come from the wage taxes of average Americans. I do what I can to give back as best I can, but I profit a lot off of the bottom 90%, and that's thanks to the big tax cuts, not just from Trump, from Obama. Obama signed the Bush tax cuts into law permanently, and that's part of what I benefit from. I get your wage taxes, and they go into my pocket, and I do what I can to try and live a somewhat ethical life. But would you say that because of the fact that I'm getting tax dollars, that 1% capitalists getting tax dollars, that
that makes you beholden to the government? That doesn't make you beholden to the government, MDeathFan. That's not a good argument.
That's a terrible argument. That's actually a very, very hard far left argument. That's that's an extreme communist or socialist kind of argument.
That's statism 1984 shit, man. What are you doing?
It's very much in line with pre-socialist structures, right? Like Marxist structures to form socialism, which is the first. If the government is paid into through tax dollars a corporation, that corporation should then be beholden to the people and thus controlled by the people. That's Marxism.
Right.
So, you're a Marxist, and I'm a little surprised. Frankly, I know that MDeathFan is more of a libertarian, but I think MDeathFan, like a lot of people both on the left and on the right, have these double standards where they're willing to compromise on their own foundational ideals because they disagree with somebody on the opposite side of the fence.
Yeah.
Me being an anarchist, I try to look at everything from sort of a everybody's wrong and I disagree with everybody kind of perspective.
Right.
But it does give me sort of like, I don't really have much in the way of double standards. So as a result, I look at everything in a pretty balanced way, which is fuck the right and fuck the left. And I see the double standards of everybody. And it kind of forces me to keep myself in check.
Yeah.
As long as I stay realistic and I don't subscribe to left or right wing ideals. Like, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a conservative, I'm not left wing or right wing, because if I said that, I'd have to subscribe to certain ideals that are exclusive to that side, and I'm not that way. So I don't have double standards because I don't have this doctrine that says I'm always this way. Oh, wait, now it's contradicted because somebody on the opposite side of the fence whom I disagree with is doing something I don't like, so I must change my standards so that I can prove them wrong. And it's just ridiculous. So
Yeah.
This is why, I see this in a lot of people. It's not just you, I'm deaf fan. I see it in a lot of people on the left and the right. I think it's really important for people, and instead of coming up with a label and saying, I'm a libertarian, or I'm a conservative, or, I'm a liberal, or I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, that shouldn't matter to you. What should matter to you is what are the things that you care about? And those things may cross political lines. There may be some things you care about that mostly right-wingers care about. And there may be some things you care about that mostly left-wingers care about.
Yeah.
And so you shouldn't have to subscribe to a label.
Which is what Middle America is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Zonia.
All right. Well, anyways, if anybody wants to talk to me about this stuff in more depth, you know how to reach out to me. You can hit me up on Twitter or Discord if you have access to the Discord server.
There you are. There, people. So, Zonia out. Zonia taking care of business. Interesting discussion. Didn't agree with everything. And as it stands right now, that video seems pretty damning to me because of the silence of Google in response to that. Oh yeah, good night, Ian. Much love to you. One of these days, my man Matthew Maida, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name properly, is going to have his own YouTube channel. As a Christian, I want to align myself with what aligns closest to Christ. I agree. I'm in the same bubble. I am in the same bubble, XBM. Let's see. Dan is wrong. He's saying that Method Man is better than Biggie. That's not true. Not true at all. Jesus was trying to warn about bigger government. Okay, I'm gonna countenance that statement, but I need to know what passage Jesus took when he was warning against big government. Yeah, was Jesus a socialist? I didn't. That's an interesting point, Rich Yonkers. Maybe to punish us. There are times when God is mad at a nation, and so what he does is he gives them a wicked king as a punishment. So a lot of evangelicals are like, God put Trump in office. Sure, but we don't know why God put Trump in office. Doesn't mean he was trying to bless us. That's for sure. Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, but I'm Jesus was a politician. There's no way to deny that. He came preaching the first message that Jesus preached was a political message. The kingdom of God is at hand. His first audience took that as a political statement. So you can't say that, you can't dichotomize, you can't separate Jesus from politics. I don't think that's accurate. if you've ever seen In the Name of the Rose, it's that movie that three sects of Catholics gathered together for debate, which was about whether or not Jesus owned his clothes or if he had a purse. That's interesting. X gonna give it to you, Method won't. Yeah, I just don't see how Method Man could be compared in any way, shape, or form to Biggie. I just don't see it. Good book by Umberto Eco. Mr. Eco. So, Vin, do you think some of the more extreme things associated with Christian teachings, i.e. a homosexual abomination, would be things that the modern Jesus would be very much against? No, I don't think. First of all, I don't believe that there's any extreme Christian doctrine. As we said in the Bible Bash, anything that doesn't reflect the ideal of the garden is going to get characterized as malevo, or an abomination. So, charging interest, for example, in Ezekiel was characterized as an abomination. So I don't think any of that is extreme. I do think, though, that Jesus would he'd have a terrible time with abortion. And he would also have a terrible time with the way that we're treating the foreigner and the sojourner. I think he'd have a lot of terrible things to say about certain forms of American evangelical Christianity. Obviously. But I also think he would find some way to point out the good things that they do, because Jesus was very good at that, and I suck at it. So that's my perspective. Ghost Love Score. NMJ is talking about Ghost Love Score. That's my favorite Nightwish song, for sure. I agree, Leo. If he would change, well, yeah, the Westboro folks are extremists. Sure, I've actually talked to them, so yeah, but that's nothing to do with Christianity. Mr. Mueller will be testifying before Congress on the 17th. Any prediction or thoughts on how it goes? If we can figure out how to do this with the video simultaneously, that would be cool to live stream. The biggest thing that I'm trying to figure out is how to live stream videos simultaneously with this, because then we can all watch the Nightwish thingy together. Dexy Chan, way to avoid a question. What question did you ask, Dexy? Much of America still hasn't come to terms that Jesus was a Middle Eastern colored man who is a child refugee. Right. Lunchtime. Good God help Jesus when he was a baby if the Egyptians had their the American foreign policy, because all they did was run for their lives. They weren't able to, good thing that Egypt had some open borders.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yang is intriguing to me, although I haven't heard his explanation of how the $1,000 a month UBI is going to work with the inflation that will necessarily come from it. To me, it keeps everybody in the same place, but people have the illusion that they're going somewhere. So I'm not sure how good of a thing that is. The New Testament is clear about the obligation of Christians to obey the authorities and the laws of the land. Yes, Clinton, insofar as they don't contradict God's law, but we know that in the book of Acts, when the apostles John and Peter were told no longer to speak in the name of Christ, Peter says, "You judge for yourselves as whether or not it's best best to listen to God or to men. And so when you have a law that is unjust, you are not to follow it. So if there is a law that we should abort babies, you should not follow that law. And so the way that we're treating the sojourner and the foreigner from a biblical perspective is a complete violation of how the Bible says we should treat them. So that's a law that was created by men, that it's bad because God's higher law says that we should treat them better. Our immigration policy is codified evil, in my mind. From my reading of the New Testament. Hey, Jelly Bean, Auntie Pony loves you, Oreo.
He's like, yeah, he still has his blue eyes.
Overshadow Sean. Yeah, I hope he keeps his blue eyes. Yeah, God is not a God of disorder, but of order and peace. Well, I agree. 1 Corinthians 14 is one of my favorite chapters in the Bible, but what does that have to do with how we're treating the foreigner? 1 Corinthians 14 has nothing to do with immigration, Clinton. There are bunches of passages in the Bible that directly address immigrants. So quote those passages. Don't quote me 1 Corinthians 14, which has nothing to do with immigrants. That specific statement where Paul says God is a God of order is in the context of prophecy and how many prophets should speak and how prophets should take turns, and 2 or 3 at the most. And then he says God is a God of order, not confusion. What does that have to do with immigration? DNC will eat. Oh, Alec Ashmore in the house. What the hell? Hey, buddy.
Oh, hey.
I haven't talked to you in quite some time. DNC will either give us Biden or Harris. Obvious me to blackout and Gabbard and Yang. I'll have to throw my support behind Warren for now. Only legitimate chance of an establishment. Yeah, bro. Alec, if you could get on the phone and explain to me UBI and how that works with inflation, if you've cracked that egg, let me know, por favor.
XBM is asking where to join the Bible Bash.
The next Bible Bash is happening this Saturday. Reach out to Carmen Murphy, and she's going to have all the... or Carmen of the Village. She's going to have all the details on that, my man.
Oh, Pony, I didn't know that.
I think using titles like the Son of God, Holy Redeemer, the Savior of the World are completely fine reference to Christ, and none of them have anything to do with socialism or capitalism. I mean, sure, Thomas, but King of the Jews is, again, a political title. That's a political title. So, I mean, I hear you. I don't think heaven has open borders. Well, you're wrong, BRNMK, because the very last chapter of the Bible says that the gates of heaven are wide open, that they're not closed. So, I disagree with you. Anybody who flees to Christ finds a home.
Right. That's true. I was like, I was about to say I disagree with you, but then you said that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Tulsi would be an amazing
Thank
candidate.
you, Monica.
Yeah, they're obviously blacking her out because she would be way too popular. It's something they tried to do with Bernie in the last cycle. At minimum, I think if Bernie wins, he should have Tulsi and Yang in his cabinet. I don't believe necessarily that UBI is going to work, but the detail and the way in which he approaches politics, I think, is only going to help us as a country. And I think he's one of the most forward-thinking people as regards, the evil that why is it saying live streams offline? Refresh that. That's not a good sign. As far as the evil that Zonia is about to foist upon us with AI, I think Yang has some really good ideas.
I think it should be back.
Yeah. How does hell work if anyone can just get into heaven then? I don't have a point. I'm legitimately confused. Yeah, BRNMK, I've long made the statement that, or C.S. Lewis made the statement, is that hell is a door locked from the inside. That the people choosing whether to live in a state completely away from God and losing the image of God over eternity versus being in a state of the direct presence of God and worshiping Him, the man or woman who is unchanged in heart is always going to actively choose hell over heaven. Mm-hmm. So that's my perspective on it. And you also have to understand, from a biblical perspective, sin is not rational. And so the more that you sin and deny the truth, the more your mind gets darkened into unreasonableness.
Right.
So by the time a person gets to the point where they're a candidate for hell, they're going to be so irrational and unreasonable that even if they're suffering, they're going to tell you that they'd rather be there than in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're at, what, 144p? Vin, do you believe that Israel should accept unrestricted mass immigration permanently like the U.S. does? Well, Clinton, I believe that everybody should follow the Bible. That's number one. Number two, the Israelis have a massive human rights crisis on their hands and violations of human rights and dignity. And I would love for the Israelis to fix that problem.
Do you see that Lunchtime Catch-Up podcast? Just know this channel is much appreciated and it's been a great help to my life. Much love to you both. Yes, social media can be used to encourage others. That's cool.
Thank you very much. Oreo's using too much bandwidth. Great question. Is there a chance to change and get into heaven once life is over? Again, the gates are always open. Rob Bell got in trouble for pointing that out in Love Wins. The gates are always open. I personally believe that hell is eternal, not because God won't say, heck, too late. I believe hell is eternal because the people are so darkened in their minds that they would rather hell than heaven, because that is how much people hate God. Well, there you go, Ben. If you believe God's a horrible person, then you're not going to want to hang out with him and worship him all eternity, right? Mm-hmm. So there you go. Perfect example. Well, Bob, I'm sure you've got a moral compass, and I'm sure you have belief systems that you believe everybody should share. I'm sure, Bob, that you believe that we shouldn't go out and randomly murder people, and I'm sure that you would say everybody should think the same way that I do, because you believe it to be true and right, and the best shot for humanity on the earth. And so I believe that the way that Jesus taught us to treat people is the best possible way for people to live on the earth. Greetings, Vin and Sori. God bless you and your beautiful family. Thank you. You said you hated your birthday when you were younger. Yeah, XBM, about, a couple of years ago when I turned 30, I kind of had this crisis because I felt like I hadn't done, anything with my life.
Anything?
But the way that I personally overcame it was to know that that God made me for a purpose, and my business in life is to get as close to Jesus as I possibly can. And then once I do that, then he'll figure out the rest of it. So that's kind of how I was able to get over it. What do you feel about the method of prayer, adoration, confession, thankfulness? Is it true he can't hear your prayers until you perform these steps? No, that's not true.
No.
People have these acronyms: ACT, adoration, confession, thankfulness, as a help in order to help them along the way. But those are not necessary, and there's nowhere in the Bible that says that. If you go to the Psalms are just prayers set to music. There are a bunch of Psalms that don't have adoration or any of that. It's just, save me, or how could you let this happen to me?
Yep.
And those are all legitimate prayers that God hears. And I believe that God hears millions and trillions of prayers, whether or not you believe in him. So, so there's that.
Well, I think that prayer, and we've said it before, it's just the honest communications of what's going inside your heart. So God already sees into all of our hearts. He already knows what's going on. But when we say it out, like you're either telling a lie to him or you're telling the truth. So if you're going by someone else's set prayers, it might not be what coincides with what's going on in your own heart. There are some times where I've read other people's prayers or the Psalms, and it's been basically like a prayer of mine because what they were saying was also how I felt. But if you're forced to say a certain prayer that doesn't coincide with how you feel, I don't see how that's a helpful relationship to have. I mean, it's kind of like in the Bible it talks about like the people being like the bride and God being like the husband. Some people are like, that's kind of weird, but like if you think about the husband-wife relationship, if I don't tell Vin the truth of how I'm feeling in a conversation and I'm just quoting out something that I read from some magazine or something that sounded really cool, he's not getting the authentic me. God wants the authentic us, just like we want the authentic other person in our relationships.
Yeah. Josephus not mentioning Jesus by name, do you believe is a problem for believers, considering how detailed it was his writing, the fact that you mentioned just about everyone else? No, and I disagree with the fact that Josephus didn't mention Jesus. Bart Ehrman has this book called Did Jesus Exist? And in that, now Bart Ehrman is no fan of Christianity. He doesn't believe that Jesus is God in the flesh. He doesn't believe in the inspiration of the Bible. He is not on my team. But there's a quote where Josephus mentions Jesus, and a lot of people believe that was an interlocutor who went in and added certain things because they've got him saying that Jesus was the Messiah. Obviously, that is something that was inculcated by a Christian. But even Bart Ehrman, in his book, he has a remixed version of that statement, and it still comports to Jesus being a miracle worker and all the rest of it from his perspective. So that's my answer to that question.
I'll be back.
And the passage in question is in where he says, about that time there lived Jesus, a wise man, da 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 da, and like I said, I agree. There's a Christian interlocutor, but that doesn't mean that the entire passage is wrong. And there are lots of Second Temple historians, Bart Ehrman being the chief of them, that believe that Josephus mentioned Jesus, but that he didn't call him the Messiah. So there's that. Do you think we can lose salvation? No, I don't believe you can lose your salvation. Warren or Sanders? Warren. No, sorry. Sanders. I'm more Sanders than Warren. I don't trust Warren because of the whole Native American thing. And I know that's petty, but I'm a Sanders guy because, like, with Sanders, I know what I'm getting. He's been preaching the exact same message for 40 years. And so I'm more Sanders than Warren. Yeah, I had honestly never heard that before. Baptists believe once saved, always saved. Pentecostals do not believe, so I'm so confused. Yeah, the scripture talks about us being adopted into the family. And, we're watching this movie. I forgot the name of the movie. Instant Family. And it talked about the horrors. It's a heartwarming story. But it talked about the horrors of being an adoptive parent and all the horrible things that you have to deal with the kid, because they're coming out of a terrible situation, they're coming from a different environment, and the beauty of the story, obviously, was that these adoptive parents stuck it out with the kids until the kids figured out that they were completely loved and accepted and learned to live as a family. And so my thing is, if human beings can take bad kids and adopt them, knowing full well that in the beginning stages it's going to be terrible, if human beings can accomplish that, then it's crazy to me that people will say that, yeah, God will adopt you, but if you're a bad enough kid, he'll send you back to the orphanage. That's not the God that I worship. Once you get adopted, you're it. You're sitting at the same table with Jesus, and you're part of the family, and he's going to keep you forever, no matter how much you try to get sent back to the orphanage. So that's my perspective on it. Vin is adopted. It's true. What about a Warren Sanders ticket? Whoo! Either one would be a very powerful ticket. Bone Thugs or NWA? Bone Thugs. Easy. Easy. Trump will win on a landslide if those two are the best the left can put out there. Well, I don't really think it's the candidate that's the problem, Sean. It's the fact that they don't have a unified message and they're all fractured and sniping at each other a year before the election.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Blaming everybody else and pointing fingers all over the place.
I had a friend who said if you died with even one sin unconfessed, you'd go to hell. I asked him, what if he was a car accident and his last name were fucking... He said God would make an exception. Remember I asked you the exact same question?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, I just think that that's a person who has no self-awareness, because there are so many sins that you commit in a day that God doesn't bring to your attention because he's merciful and he doesn't want to crush you under the weight of your sinfulness. So all these people that say, oh, if you die with unconfessed sin, you're going to hell. First of all, there's no biblical passage that says that. And second of all, that indicates that they don't realize that they have tons of sins that they've done that they don't confess because they don't even know that they're sinning at the moment. Bone Thugs over NWA. What are you smoking? I just think Bone Thugs raised the genre to... They're one of the few people that literally came out with a completely different style. They were amazing.
then Larry, get a cup of coffee.
Right, Jeff. Same thing. Prodigal son. Sadat. He never once stopped being the son of the father. Never once. As a matter of fact, even when the kid finds himself in this bad situation, he says, my father's servants X, Y, and Z. So even then, when he was far away, he still called his father his father. He was never disowned. Yep. And so, no matter where you are,
and
God
said that he could see his son afar off.
Right. No matter where you are, God, if you want God to be your father, he'll be your father. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how far away you get, he's gonna bring you back.
Yep. For sure.
Besides watching the reality show TV, President Idiocy is too appealing to pass up another 4 years. Windmills cause cancer. Hearts are kidneys and the moon is Mars. Don't forget about the airport during 1776 in the Revolutionary War, which, Leah, you still haven't responded about. How in the world can you feel safe with Trump as your president when he said, we've got jetliners in 1776? Good God. Favorite figures, Paul.
Perpetua for
Sori. Yeah. Augustine is my guy.
Yeah. In more ways than one.
George, look at that. That man Orion looking buff. I told you.
It's hard to give him a bath because you can't even get under his arms if he doesn't want you to. Look at this.
Look at Rob. How did America have airports in 1775? Yeah, Rob, you might not be from the country, but our president on the 4th of July was talking about how the brave American revolutionaries were, missing flights and all the rest of it. It was unbelievable.
Right.
And he tried to blame the teleprompter. Correct. Sadak, he did. He blamed the teleprompter. It's like, come on, bruh.
Well, I can see how that would happen. If you're just reading, you're not paying attention.
No love for Patrick. Yeah, Patrick. Yeah, he's legit. That's what's up. Rain was on the teleprompter. MDeath fan, you are not defending this Trump thing, are you?
What? I can see it happening if I wasn't paying attention.
Look, airports, the ports. Okay, so the teleprompter messed that up. That makes it even worse. That means that the guy who wrote the teleprompter knew that would be an anachronistic statement. Your man Trump found a way to screw it up. If a raindrop, MDeath fan, if a rain pellet can undo your guy, we're in trouble. This is one of those things where Johan does something and his excuses make things worse. That's worse.
Oh my word. MDeath fan, he could easily do a speech for an hour.
Who?
You. And you wouldn't need a teleprompter. You would just do your own.
What, did he say, let's see you do a speech for an hour?
Yeah, let's see you do it for an hour. I'm telling you.
Where did he say that?
I don't know. Scroll down, I guess.
Stop it, MDeath fan.
Right there. Let's see you give a speech for an hour and in front of... I guess it means front of millions of people in the rain. It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't happen. I know who I am and I know who I'm not. I could easily give that speech, be very inspiring. People would cry, but I wouldn't say a damn word about airports in 1776, my guy. Like, just be like Leah.
I don't see you reading a teleprompter either.
I wouldn't use a teleprompter. Be like Leah and laugh it off, and deaf fan. Like, the more you try to defend this stuff, the worse it gets.
It was Trump. Trump was giving this speech, and he talked about airplanes back. What would he say during the Civil War? When was he saying it? I don't remember. Hey.
Oh, you were talking to me? I'm sorry. What were you saying?
When Trump said that there was planes when?
Oh, yeah, during his 4th of July speech.
Yes, but during what time in history?
During the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, see?
Trump said he had the speech memorized. Was it one of the amendments about airline miles?
Look at...
Vin, you want to interview John Lennon, show STFU. Yeah, and I'm not the president of the United States. I'm not even the president of Vin and Sori. This guy's the president of the United States, family. I'm sorry.
Oh, Blake, I'm glad you liked it.
Vin would totally give a 1 hour long speech. He's so bad with technology though that none of us would be able to see it. Exactly. It would be all it would be buffering the whole time. You don't believe he actually thought there were airports in 1776. He obviously spoke. Yeah, he misspoke, but how do you make such an error? This is indefensible to me.
Yeah.
You know, if AOC would have said that, all the right-wingers would have been like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's so stupid, and they'd make all these crazy memes about her.
His phone would die mid-speech.
How much has Dante influenced thought on religion and Christianity? I don't think it's as much as you think it is, Das. What's wrong with that? The Gettysburg Naval Air Force bombed the South. That's how the North won. I'm surprised Tina didn't make any memes about that shit.
Yeah. Where is Tina anyway?
Alec has a point. Misspeaking equals consistently making wild and objectively untrue claims about reality. Hold the president to a higher standard. Sadat. Vin's hour-and-a-half speech would be 3 hours. We all know that. Also true. People are on fire today. You know.
He misspoke, and instead of auto-correcting at the moment, he just moved on. He really did. He didn't say anything.
I know. He did. He did. He just kept it rolling.
Oh,
and then he blamed the teleprompter, and then MDeath fan blamed the rain. And to Alex's point, if rain can undo your commander-in-chief on the birthday of your country,
oh no,
we have problems.
We do.
God almighty.
Did he look like he realized, oh no, I said the wrong thing? Or did it look like he was just auto-reading?
Nah, my man Trump said that shit with conviction.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was good enough to a fever pitch.
Oh my word, I have to see this.
I just have 5 minutes more. 3 hours later, and in conclusion, abortion is bad, God is good. Very good. Oh man, don't take it personally, y'all. But I mean, that's a pretty terrible one. Blame it on the rain. Having a debate regarding a few Christian theologians debating accuracy of a few stories in the Bible, idea of the flood. Can you doubt flood and still be assumed story of Christ is true? My thought was yes. Of course you can. There's lots of people, and look, there's people that believe that the flood was a local flood that was used with hyperbolic language and not a global flood. So, you know, Christianity is about a person, Jesus Christ. You get yourself connected to the person, and then he changes you from the inside out, and there you go. I'm not going to make the flood the prerequisite to having a relationship with Christ. Good night. Let an oncologist publicly say that windmills cause cancer in a public forum, and let's count how quickly people push for their medical license to be revoked. That's true. Very, very true.
Try this.
Very, very true. I don't know. I think I agree with Matty Nutrition. That. What is wrong with him? Huh?
I think it's. I gotta just go. I'm trying because I want to be in here, but he doesn't want to be with the kids. He wants to be with us, and I think he wants attention. So. I tried a million times. You're at 2 hours, so anytime.
Yeah, I've seen Peter Hitchens stuff. Very interesting guy. Very interesting guy. I'm very surprised I'm not a Vingo tile. I agree. Very, very surprising me. Very, very surprising me. Vingo tiles are sanctioned by big government. Right. Right. Maybe Trump had tried DMT for the first time and he'd seen the planes flying in the 18th century. What's that Discovery Channel show? The Ancient Aliens one where he had the aliens like chilling in the spaceship since day one? Right? So who knows? Who knows? Vin, do you ever check out Jimmy Dore? I listen to Jimmy Dore at least once a day. At least once a day. I love Jimmy Dore. I love him. He's one of the realists. For sure.
Hey, does anybody know where the remote is? The one from up here.
Since you're more versed in rap and hip hop, Van, I'd be interested to hear your opinion of Lil Dicky. Yeah, Lil Dicky's a monster, man. He's a badass. He's really, really, really good. Is Joe Rogan a flip-flopping hypocrite based on whoever's on the show? No, XBM. I thought that the way he engaged the Candace Owens discussion showed that he doesn't do that. It's just that he doesn't play into tribalism, and he tries to find common ground with everybody that he talks to. And so now he's going to get charged for being a flip-flopper. But I think when he really disagrees, he disagrees. You people are insane. Economy's on fire. Jobs everywhere. 401k stock up. Stock killing it. Hate all you want. Who's hating him? Death Fan? We're just poking some fun. But, I mean, you know, It happens. You gotta hold the man accountable. The hour-long song. I'm actually extremely intrigued by it. That's the you and Ben thing, right? I'll let you know when we carve out time for that song because I'm extremely interested in it. Do you think the Packers have a shot this upcoming season? I think anytime you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you always have a shot. I just think I want to see how Rodgers gets along with his coach. And the other thing is, a lot of Rodgers' game is to do the impromptu stuff, scrambling out of the pocket, but it gets him hurt. So he's so accurate that he never really gets pegged as being a running quarterback like Michael Vick or Newton, because he's so accurate. But I just think that it's if he listens to his coach, I think things will go good for him. I'm very excited to see Jimmy Garoppolo. Are you a Tony Campolo fan? Yeah. What? Phone?
I'm looking for the remote.
I don't have it. Are you a Tony Campolo fan? Yeah, he's alright. Have a good one, HQU. How do you feel about Varg getting deplatformed? I think it's bullshit. Let the man have his channel. Just because people say things you don't agree with, it doesn't mean you get to silence them. And Varg is not calling for the death of anybody. I mean, from the videos I saw, he's just basically a separatist. You know, he thinks Africa's for Africans and you know, Nordic places are for Nordic people. And I obviously don't agree with that. But white people are not the only people that have that mentality. So the Black Hebrew Israelites still have a channel. And they actually do violent acts on camera. Varg hasn't done any violent acts on camera. So I just think it's crazy. How do you think the Pats will do without Gronk? I think that they're going to figure it out. We've got some pretty good prospects, so I'm not worried about it too much. Yeah, it's a terrible slope. It's a terrible slope. We're looking at 20 minutes, guys. 20 minutes. Yeah, Varg already did his time for his violent acts, and, you know, if you know, he claimed it was self-defense. He never glorified it, as far as I know. So I don't understand it. Jake wants me to get you to review 1349 song Eyes of Stone. That is going to be on the short list, young lady. Now that Sori's out of the room, what's the worst thing about her? I'm not going to say the worst thing about her. What I would love for her to do is accept more of God's grace in her life. That's what I would love. And that's kind of what we're working on a lot in our spiritual conversations is, you know, there's a passage in Hebrews 4 that says we must strive to enter that rest. And so that's what I would love for her to be able to just rest in Jesus and what he's done for her and who God the Father is for her, and trust the Holy Spirit to change her to be the person that she wants to be. So, there you go. Good night, Thomas. Much love to you, buddy. Elect a Dem. Economy won't suffer, neither will the environment. Maybe. I don't know, Matthew. I think we can see it. Then review the song. I think maybe. Worst thing about Vin, he hates mayonnaise. That's the best thing about me. Read your Bible. Jesus never ate mayonnaise. Huh? Tell the truth. Jesse, yeah, you're late because we got 15 minutes left. We got 15 minutes left. Moses is heavy and Jesus is light. Tough to get from under that weight. Yeah, Seth. I'd say so. Vin hates mayonnaise? Unsubbing. Discontinued ultimate. What's that mean? What do you think about the new Facebook policy rules that allow threats of violence against group the media consider worthy of being called out? B Cherry, show me that link. Yeah, I checked out the Wolverine as a Christian clip. It was awesome. I loved it. There's also a Kevin from not Wonder Years, but Home Alone. There's also a video that says Kevin was a Christian too. That one was really good. Vin, what do you think about the conversation Jesus has with the woman at well? It seems she was being a low-key smartass and Jesus found it clever. Thought? Yeah, that's exactly what was happening. That's exactly what was happening. He says, go call your husband. She says, I have no husband. Jesus says, you're right. You've been 5 men and the one that you're with now is not your husband. You've spoken the truth. And then she says, you are the Messiah. No. She says, I see you are a prophet. And then she changes the subject to an argument about where we're going to worship. And I think that Jesus loved that conversation for sure. What are your thoughts on how the Royal Navy is enforcing the UN sanctions on Iran in light of Iran nearing the cap on nuclear materials? I just think we should leave these Iranians alone. It's like we're pushing inevitably towards war. They don't pose a threat to us at all. I don't understand it. Did y'all say Wolverine is a Christian? Yeah, Overshadow Sean. Let me show you this. There's a pretty cool video clip about an episode of the X-Men, and it's pretty awesome. Wolverine becomes a Christian. It's about 4 minutes long. So yeah, it's pretty badass. Shout out to the big homie Wolverine. Wolverine, baby. 10 minutes, you guys. 10 minutes. You watching boxing, Vin? When are you going to review Smashing Pumpkins mayonnaise? Soon. When are you going to watch that movie called Smoke Signals? I don't remember talking about it. Right, that's where they introduced Nightcrawler, Matthew, correct. God loves Wolverine because he provides him with plenty of fresh souls. Yeah, he Wolverine, he is what he is, Fresh all. Jalapeno ranch on Whataburger's an awesome sandwich. Well, if you want to see something religiously harsh, check out the X-Men God Loves, Man Kills. That should be interesting. Yeah, I want to see that link. Go ahead. Post it. I want to see that link. Where they said that. One last time, you asked me on another chat how many women die from illegal abortion in countries that deem abortion legal. The Guttmacher report says 8 to 11. No, Robbie, that wasn't the question I asked you. The question I asked you was, people are making the claim that if we ban abortion, we're going to have this giant spike of back alley abortions and people dying because they're going to do these back alley abortions. And so what I asked you for was data in the United States about how many people died because of botched abortion in, like, let's say the 50s, before abortion was, before Roe v. Wade. So get me that data, please. Yeah, that Ben Askren knockout was brutal. And it probably didn't even, he probably didn't even feel a thing. Simple as that. Probably didn't feel a thing. 5 minutes, y'all. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. This Bob Miller guy is a trip. I haven't watched a boxing match since Tyson tried to pierce Holyfield's ear with his molars. I saw that fight. I couldn't believe what I saw. I could not believe what I saw. Oh, hey, the Black Ariel, Sadat. Just woke up from nap. Surprised you're still here. We got 5 minutes left, bruh. Right, Bob. So if you can't find that data, then on what basis are people making that assertion? It's just propaganda. If you don't have data to back up what you're saying, then you're just making a made up statement, which is fine, but that ends that. Leave my boy Ben alone. Ben, you're like that kid in the hood that the gangsters just like for no reason and would protect you for no reason. We had people like that. I never understood it. Have you ever heard of the DC character the Spectre? Yes, he was written as the wrath of God joined to a person, and one story said God's wrath had separated at the cross. Wrong, but interesting concept. Whoa, that's crazy. That is an interesting concept, for sure. Who wins, Lakers or Clippers? I've got the Lakers easily. Kawhi is completely overrated. He is completely overrated. Jordan. I think LeBron is 2 levels above Kawhi. And Anthony Davis is obviously... People are sleeping on LeBron for 1 year. Wait till this year. They're going to annihilate the Clippers. It's not even going to be close. That's how I feel. Salam alaikum, Pony. Much love to you. Yeah, Jeff, get me the source that said that there were 200,000 to 2 million deaths prior to the passing of Roe v. Wade in the United States. Why Black Panther get all the love? Did our brothers forget about the OG Blade? Right, exactly. I think it was one of those things where, there's a character that our kids can look up to, because Blade obviously is not a look up to character. But I'm like, my son looks up to me. He doesn't look up to Black Panther. I don't understand this stuff. Okay, get me the link, Jeff. If Kawhi wins the title of the Clippers, will you eat a mayonnaise sandwich on a fireside? Hell no. There is nothing you could do to get me to eat a mayonnaise sandwich. Then why do you think the washing of feet was so important to Jesus? I mean, I get the psychological aspect, but 2 separate instances that were so intimate has to have more meaning. Well, yeah. Jesus was not the only traveling rabbi who had disciples that followed him and served him. It was actually very common in that milieu, and the disciples did everything for their master, but one task that was not that the rabbis would not permit their masters to do was washing feet, because it was looked upon as the lowest of the low. And if you were rich enough to have a slave, your lowest slave would do the foot washing. And so when Jesus goes down to wash feet, he's taking the position of the lowest member of society. And that's why Peter said, "You shall never wash my feet." Because Peter's saying, I don't want to see you this way. You're supposed to be the king. You're supposed to be ruling and wrecking shop. I don't want to see you take the position of the lowest slave in a given household. Because that's not my picture of Messiah. And Jesus says, unless you let me do this, you have no part with me. And then, of course, Peter says, then wash everything. And Jesus is obviously showing them that his structure of who's in the lead and who whatever is upside down. In the world, the leader is the one that gets served by everybody. But in God's economy, the leader is the one that is the lowest servant. And so that's why it was very significant to Peter, for sure. I'm just trying to filter out sites like Huffington Post, which can be biased, obviously. But I don't believe anybody's neutral on this topic, Jeff. So get me the link. I'll look at it, for sure. 5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes. Are you going to see Amorphous live in September? Very, very possible. We'll just have to think about, Sori, because we've got 2 shows in August, and I'm wondering, leaving the baby and such. I'd love to see my boss mopping the floor. Yeah. Right. If that doesn't motivate you, nothing will, right? Phineas and Ferb. Yeah, my man, who is it in Phineas and Ferb? The bad guy. The bad guy from Phineas and Ferb is my favorite bad guy of all time. He's hilarious. They changed it again today and fixed it. Fixed what, B. Cherry? Batman the Animated Series. Remember Batman, and then right after that you had Gargoyles? That was crazy. I love that one. I think it's logical to postulate there will be more deaths from illegally performed abortion versus those performed legally. However, I don't think there's any way to say how many. Yeah, I mean, again, get me the data. Secondly, Bob, it's not logical to assume that there will be more deaths by illegally performed abortions, because in legally performed abortions, there's always a death. So that's logically impossible to say that there'll be more deaths or even anything remotely close to the equivalent deaths of what we've done since Roe v. Wade, which is a tune of about 60 million. So I don't see how that works. Have you heard Lindsay Schoolcraft's new single? Yes. Doofenshmirtz, yeah. Incorporated, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my man Doofenshmirtz. He's not playing with y'all. The platypus. That where they allowed for people to call for violence. Yeah. Darkwing Duck. Yeah, he came on after DuckTales. Yeah, B. Cherry, let me see it. I'd like to see it. So, Vin, have you heard Murderer by Impending Doom? No, but when we do Impending Doom, we're going to do that one. For sure. Right, Matthew. Did you ever watch Daredevil? What do you think of the depiction of Christianity in Season 3 if you saw it? I thought it was handled pretty well. I haven't seen Daredevil yet, Seth, but I'm definitely going to check it out now that you said that, for sure. 2 minutes, guys. 2 minutes. It's just I haven't done these in a while, so I'm hanging out. Yes, Gojira and Clutch. Clutch is on the way, for sure. Bone Thugs or Mobb Deep? Bone Thugs. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. I think Bone Thugs, aside from Wu-Tang, is the best group. I did not know that, Matthew. That's crazy. That's crazy. 1 minute, y'all. 1 minute. 1 minute. Hey, forget it. I was going to ask a question, but speaking of Schoolcast single, did you see the rant where she's talking about how people started rumors they're talking and then somehow it turns into a rant about her? Yeah, I mean, Lindsay's my homegirl, Ben, so be careful. You know, I mean, it's hard being in the public eye. Let me just say it that way. So. Later, Mr. Tejas. East Coast rap or West Coast rap? East Coast all day. I just, you know, obviously I'm biased because I'm from New York, but I'm going to go with East Coast rap. Now, what rap is more fun? What rap style is more fun? What rap style will get you moving at a party or a club? West Coast rap for sure. But if you're talking about substance and deep ideology in the lyrics, it's East Coast all the way. Haven't heard about Me Without You yet. 30 seconds, guys. Bone over Prodigy and Havoc, y'all tripping. Lord Jamar voice. Yo, Sori loves Lord Jamar. Loves him. Menudo or New Kids on the Block? New Kids. New Kids, easy. Bone Thugs or Crucial Conflict? Bone Thugs. Crucial Conflict stole their idea, and they sucked at it. Po Pimp was their only song, and after that, they were done. Mos Def. Okay, Mos Def, lyrically, he's got that East Coast, deep, complex structure rap that I love. Lord Jamar, the God. Yeah, I've actually got issues with the phone. I have to reorder my phone because this one died. And Sori wants me to get a 10, but an X, actually. It's supposed to be X. It's not supposed to be 10. Sori wants me to get an X, but I'm gonna tell him to get me an iPhone 8. So, Justin Bieber or Avril Lavigne? Okay, Dirk. I'm gonna go with Dirk. Avril Lavigne. Ten seconds, guys. Doofenshmirtz over Perry the Platypus. I agree. Yeah, message the links, Jeff, for sure. I'd love to look at him. MF Doom. Yeah, I can see that. I can take one more serious question, then I gotta get out of here. KJ52 or Biggie? Biggie. I'm better than KJ52. Nickelback. I don't like being punched in the mouth. I used to. I don't anymore. I've since been a changed man. Much love to you, Becky. Heard Dance with the Devil by Immortal Technique. No. I think we might review that song. Mount Rushmore of hip hop. Jay-Z. How many people are Mount Rushmore? 4 or 5? Biggie, Jay-Z, Eminem. I would put Mace up there, but he didn't stay consistent with his career. Ice Cube. I gotta hold my last one. There's 4? Okay. So there you go. I did 4. Biggie, Jay-Z, Eminem, Ice Cube. That's 4. No, Pac is not on my list. I don't think Pac was a very good lyricist. I think he talked about deep stuff, but as far as like the art form, he just seemed very simple to me. Biggie was 15 levels ahead of him, in my opinion. Blueprint or Illmatic? Most gangster rapper ever. BG Knockout, probably. Big Pun was pretty gangster, too. So I'm not sure. Where do you see Christianity in America in the next 20 years, I think was the question. It's a very good question. Oh, where do you see America and American Christianity in 5 to 10 years? I think American Christianity is engaging in a shift. You know, that's really a question I cannot answer. I have no idea. I have no clue. Big Pun has the greatest line ever. Which line was that? Vanilla Ice isn't most gangster? Nas is the GOAT. See, the thing about Nas is he had a couple whack albums. You know, smarten up, Nas. 4 albums in 10 years. I can divide. That's one, let's say, every 2. 2 of them shits was due. One of them was the other was Illmatic. That's one hot album every 10-year average, and that's just lame. I can't give it to Nas for that. In 10 years, hopefully Christianity will have died out. Wrong! No, sir. Dead in the middle of Little Itty, did we know that we riddled some middlemen who didn't do diddly? Yeah, I remember that song, that line. That was so crazy. I was like, whoa. But there is another one where he goes, flawless victory, y'all people can't do shit to me physically, hypothetically, lyrically, realistically. It's like, oh my gosh. Big Pun was crazy. Best place for Christianity? Out of the government. No. We need more Christianity in the government. I disagree. Yeah, Sean, that was crazy. That line was insane. What's the other one? You ain't got no wins in me, casa, KK pasa. You ain't even in my class. I hate an actor that plays a rapper. I'm Terror Squad, Beta Kappa, everybody's favorite rapper, Grand Imperial, college material. I reign subliminal inside your visual, trying to supply your physical while my spiritual side of what's lyrical. I mean, the guy, Pun was crazy. Pun was crazy. Pun was crazy. I'm going to have to listen to some Royce da 5'9", Dirk, because you keep bringing him up. Dirk. Wu-Tang, XBM. How is that even a question? Dirk, get me a Royce da 5'9" song, please. I'd like to hear about it. No, Maddie, I don't want Sharia because I'm a Christian. But Matt, you are a secularist, so you want your philosophical ideology to dominate America, and you're assuming that that's the default mode of government. It's not. Our Declaration of Independence is rooted in the idea that all men are created equal and endowed with certain inalienable rights given to them by their Creator. That's not a secularist argument. That's not how secularists talk. The Virginia Constitution, to this day in 2019, says that we have a duty to worship God and a duty to exercise Christian charity according to our conscience. So, you're a secularist, and I understand that. That's fine. But it's a worldview. And all of us have competing worldviews, and may the best worldview win. But don't act as if secularism is like a neutral position or the default position. Our government has been taken over by secularists, but that doesn't mean that that's a default position or should be a position. Abortion is the official cause of death for 2,700 women from 1950 to 1960. So let me get this straight. In 10 years, 27,000 women died from a bad abortion. In 10 years, that's what, 270 as an average. In one day, 3,000 babies die via abortion. So, and that is in the 1950 and 1960. We've got great medical advancements, so that number would go down exponentially. So I still don't see, how does this help you? That seems to make my argument for me. Yeah, it's 270 a year versus 3,000 a day. So I don't see how that's a really good argument for that. Yeah, but Maddie, your secularist laws affect me. It is impossible to live in a society where the laws don't affect the governed. Everybody's laws are going to affect you. What are you talking about? I pay school taxes. I don't believe in the public school system, but those taxes are imposed upon me by my government. So it's impossible to have a government set laws that don't affect you. Sure, Matthew, but again, it's a worldview. Everybody has a battle of worldviews, and secularism needs to constantly be justified. Justify a secularist government, and I'll justify a Christian government, and may the best worldview win. So. Okay. There is no religion, though. Yeah, Matt, what you're not getting is you're speaking as a secularist. So why should I adopt secularism? Why am I paying taxes to a public school institution that I despise? That's something that gets imposed on me. So if it's a person's philosophy that gets imposed on my tax dollars, that's different from religion getting imposed on. That doesn't make any sense to me. Either one, Dirk. And Maddie, it's anachronistic for secularists to claim that the founding fathers wanted a secular union. That's impossible. It's impossible to substantiate. It's absolutely competition, Kai. We are absolutely in the midst of a competition and a battle for which worldview will be dominant and superior in our society. That's irrefutable fact. No, our public schools should be able to educate everyone regardless of their religion. What you support would exclude all others. No, what I'm supporting is I have a worldview that I believe is the best for this country. You have a worldview named secularism, which you believe is the best for the culture, for the country. My worldview was not held by the founding fathers. Your worldview was not held by the founding fathers. So what I'm saying is compete. That's all. I'm not excluding anybody. But again, the Virginia Constitution explicitly talks about our Christian duty to worship our Creator. It's there. And that hasn't been changed. So that doesn't violate the established clause in any way, shape, or form. And if you're for the public school, then and your kids benefit from it, then great. My kids don't. I homeschool. Why do I have to pay taxes for my local public school? That's an imposition. That's a moral imposition that the government is putting on me based on a certain type of worldview. So, there you go. Yeah, Maddie, you're not getting the point. When you say we allow, you're speaking from a position of authority. Right? When you say we allow, that's a position of authority. And what I'm saying is, you're speaking as a secularist. So if the country gets taken over by a bunch of people who believe in Christian Sharia, we will allow you to have an atheist school and have at it. So I don't really see where we're actually disagreeing here. I agree with Zoni, except replace hug with murder. Ben, you are ridiculous. Okay, Tasco. Gluten-free donuts. My view is not taking any away from yours and vice versa. Yeah, mine doesn't either. Mine doesn't take anything away from you, Kai. But the current system is taking money out of my pocket and forcing me to support stuff. I lived in states that funded Planned Parenthood. That's an imposition onto me. I don't believe we should be funneling money to Planned Parenthood for any reason. So, why do secularists get to dip into my pocket and give my money to evil people? See, so I'm sorry. This idea that secularism is some neutral worldview is ridiculous. It's not. Your taxation is a government problem. It will not get better if we allow religion in. Yeah, you're not getting it. Secularism is a religion, in my mind. It functions very much like a religion. So we already have religion in. You just have a certain view of the world, and I have a view of the world, and I'm gonna vote and angle my way so that Christian Sharia can prevail, and you can have your secularist Sharia, and that's all I'm saying. But it just seems to me that secularists believe that their position is the default position and that other positions need to be defended. No, every position needs to be defended and justified. All right, you beautiful people. I don't see my view as superior to yours. Sure you do. I see my view as superior to yours. There's nothing wrong with people seeing views as superior to other views. You better see your view as superior, otherwise why are you holding to it? And if my view and your view are equal, then you should have no problem with religion running the government. Just because you believe that your view is superior to mine doesn't believe that you believe you're superior to me. Yeah, DOS. I was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but everybody gets the point. It functions that way. It functions as a religion. Well, of course, Zonia, everybody's evil. You know that. Metallica made a song about it. Everybody's evil. That's why we have wars. It is a lovely book, Ben. You should read it more. I use it to raise up my mom. Astaghfirullah. Yeah, I mean, sure, you know, and I'm questioning, that's what I'm doing, Matthew, is I'm questioning why secularists believe that they should have a stranglehold on the United States and why their perspective should go unquestioned and unchallenged. That's what I'm saying. Well, yeah, and Metallica covered it, I get it. Correct, XBM. I agree with you 100%. Robbie, you're a terrible human being. Although there is evidence that plants scream when they're being chewed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I don't think that anybody doubts that everybody's evil or bad. I don't think anybody doubts that. I've never met a person who believes they're a perfect person. All right, guys. I'm seriously trying to get out of here now. So much love to everybody. Thank you for coming to my stream. But now, I must bid you adieu, dear audience. Vid out. Sorry out. Hurry out. Down.